Welcome to This Explainer. So, have you ever noticed how the absolute most profound truths in life usually become crystal clear only when you put them right next to their exact opposites? Today, we're diving into a fascinating literary technique that completely changes the way we read ancient wisdom. We're looking at a concept known as antithetic parallelism. Now, I know that sounds like a super technical academic term, but honestly, it is an incredibly practical tool for understanding human nature, morality, and really just the underlying order of the universe. So get comfortable and let's uncover the sharpening edge of this remarkable poetic form. I want you to consider this really beautifully evocative imagery for a second. Two lines stand face to face, one bright, the other dark. I absolutely love this description because it perfectly captures the active, dynamic nature of this poetry. You see, it's not just two sentences sitting passively next to each other on a page. They are literally facing off. What the first line affirms, the second line forcefully denies. But the magic happens right there in that friction. Think of a dull knife being dragged across a whetstone. The stone opposes the blade, it creates friction, and yet, in their opposition, the truth grows sharper. This metaphor perfectly shows how creation's balance is tested, how the tension of a fracture is laid bare, and how wisdom ultimately emerges the clearest exactly where these two lines pull apart. Okay, so what is the actual technical name for this literary sharpening stone? As I mentioned, it's called antithetic parallelism. Now, to give you a little bit of context, this is the second of the three primary forms of ancient Hebrew poetry. You might actually already be familiar with synonymous parallelism. That's where two lines just kind of echo the same idea to reinforce a point. But antithetic parallelism? It does something entirely different. It sets the two lines in deliberate, intentional contrast. The whole point of the second line is to sharpen, correct, or heighten the first line by showing you its exact opposite. And I really want to emphasize something crucial here. This is far, far more than just a grammatical trick or some clever stylistic choice. This is a profound way of seeing reality itself. Think of it kind of like a scale. On one hand, we have the affirmation, which represents light and wisdom. On the exact opposite side, we have the denial, representing darkness and folly. We perceive moral reality through this stark contrast. I mean, think about our physical world. Light is only truly recognized, measured, and appreciated when it is set against the backdrop of darkness, right? In the exact same way, wisdom only becomes truly visible and defined when utter folly is standing right next to it. By placing the ideal reality directly against the ruinous one, these ancient writers aren't just handing us a list of rules. They're handing us a lens to view the incredible, messy complexities of human behavior. Let's ground this with our first concrete example from Proverbs, chapter 10, verse 1. We start with the positive ideal. A wise son makes a glad father. I mean, that is the dream, right? Total family harmony, everyone getting along, making your parents proud. But the verse doesn't stop there. It introduces the whetstone. But a foolish son is a sorrow to his mother. The harmony of the father's gladness is violently countered by the mother's intense, very relatable emotional sorrow. And by feeling the weight of that disappointment in the second line, the gladness in the first line becomes so much more vivid and precious. The contrast sharpens the emotional and moral truth of the proverb. Now, this sharpening effect gets even more dramatic when we look at human perception in Proverbs 14:12. It starts off so confidently, "There is a way that seems right to a man." We all know that feeling of absolute internal certainty, don't we? Your internal compass is pointing north and you are just charging ahead. But then comes the devastating correction, but its end is the way to death. The seemingly right path is jarringly shattered by the stark, objective reality of where that path actually leads. It is a massive plot twist. This isn't just a contrast of ideas, it's a blaring warning label. The antithetic parallelism here is designed to wake the reader up, shattering that comfortable illusion of the first line with the harsh, undeniable reality of the second. But hey, this isn't just about massive life-or-death paths. It applies to our everyday, momentary interactions too. Proverbs 15:1 brilliantly illustrates this. First, we get the de-escalation. A soft answer turns away wrath. Then, the escalation, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Think about how much more powerful that first line is because the second line exists. The author heightens the beautiful, calming effect of a soft answer by forcing us to look directly at the destructive chaos of a harsh one. Have you ever tried to win an argument by just yelling louder? Yeah, it never works out well, does it? The text lays out these two divergent paths of a simple human interaction side by side and forces us to acknowledge the immense power contained in our everyday speech. Okay, here is where things get truly fascinating. The underlying architecture of these two-line poems actually functions as a microfractal of what is known as the divine fractal rule. It's this incredible A-B pattern that charts a massive cosmic progression within a single sentence. Step 1 is the first line. It presents order or creation's harmony. Step 2 is the second line. It presents the opposite, the disorder or the fracture's tension. But, and this is key, it doesn't just leave you in despair. Step 3 is what happens inside the reader's mind. Wisdom. The restoration emerges clearly from the tension between the two lines. The tension itself points toward the better way. It's just a beautifully structured way of saying that navigating a broken world's recognizing both the original design and the current fracture. So, we've got to ask the crucial question. Why does this specific ancient literary form matter for you and me today? Why should we care how a two-line Hebrew poem is structured? Well, because we still live in a world of profound moral tension. We are constantly trying to find balance. Understanding this poetic form isn't just an academic exercise to sound smart at parties. It provides us with practical wisdom for daily living. It teaches us that truth isn't always found by just looking at the good. Sometimes, truth is sharpened and defined by carefully observing and understanding the bad, the broken, and the foolish. It matters because we can actively train our eyes to read these texts and, honestly, the world around us more deeply. I want to give you a quick mental toolkit. Whenever you encounter antithetic parallelism, ask yourself 3 things. First, what truth is being sharpened by this opposition? Second, how exactly does the second line heighten or correct the first? Like, is it a warning, an emotional contrast, or a reality check? And third, how does this specific example echo that grand narrative arc we just talked about? Creation's harmony, the fracture of disorder, and the wisdom of restoration. By extracting practical wisdom through these 3 vital questions, you transform a simple reading exercise into a seriously powerful tool for navigating life's complexities. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final reflection. This sharpening edge isn't just about collecting ancient advice for self-improvement. For those reading within the biblical tradition, it ultimately points to a specific historical and theological conclusion. It points to Christ. Christ, who navigated this deeply fractured reality we've been discussing, and who walked the right way on our behalf when we so often choose the path of folly. Whether you're looking at it through a literary, moral, or theological lens, the deliberate contrast of antithetic parallelism demands our attention. So the next time you face a stark contrast in your own life, I want you to ask yourself, what hidden truth is the whetstone trying to sharpen in you today? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep seeking out those contrasts.